So I get a lot of questions about my own spiritual journey. Hey friends, it's me, Erin, your friendly neighborhood energy alchemist, and I thought I'd share a little bit about it with you. Keep in mind, everybody's journey is going to be different. This is just my awakening experience, and I'm happy to share it with you. So this happened about 2 years before COVID. I was diagnosed with a very serious illness. It's called APS, and what that basically means is that the red blood cells in your body are stripped of a protein and makes them sticky, and then you clot. This came about because I had 3 blood clots all at the same time, 2 in my legs and 1 in my lungs, that had no apparent cause, etiology, or anything. I was diagnosed with APS based on this. And for 2 years, every day I took a medication that was really caustic. It's Coumadin. I had to take it by injection twice a day. And because I have Coumadin resistance, which looking back there was a reason, but because I had Coumadin resistance, it made it so I had to take very high doses of this medication. Taking this medication made me really sick. And when COVID happened and we all got sent home from work, I actually was working for a medical school. And I thought, what a great time to research my disease, right? To actually look into what this disease is all about. Boy, I was not prepared. What I found out was that there's all these qualifications for these diseases, this certain criteria that has to be met. And as I went through my medical records, because remember I was a nurse and I understand medical records, I got all my medical records, I was looking through them, and I started to notice that there was a test that hadn't been done. The test hadn't been done, but I was still being treated as if I had the disease. Excuse me, what? So I go to my specialist, and I was that person that printed everything out and took it to him and handed it to him and said, I think there's a problem. He literally looked at all these test results and looked me in the face and said, I'm the expert. You listen to me. You do what I tell you to, or you're gonna die. No. As someone who was teaching new doctors at the time, I know that's not right, and I decided to go back to my primary care doctor and talk to him about it because I trusted him. Lucky for me, my primary care doctor took lots of time to sit down with me and go through my records, and he saw that test had not been ordered, but he still thought I had the disorder. So he said, well, let's just order the test. I'm sure it's fine. It'll make you feel better. It'll make me feel better, but keep taking the medication. That's fair. That's fair. So I had the test done, and the next day he called me on the phone and I could hear it in his voice. He said, you don't have this disease. As a matter of fact, I need you to stop taking the medication immediately because there's no studies, no tests to show what happens to someone who takes this when they don't need it, and you've been taking it for 2 years. At this point, I had allowed myself to get so wrapped up in the idea of the disease that I had lost my own identity. It was my whole identity. And when he took that away, it was like stripping away everything I thought I knew about myself. It actually fostered in me a whole mental collapse. I don't know how else to explain it. I spent a week in bed. I couldn't function. I couldn't get over the idea that I felt like I had to call and apologize to everybody who'd been praying for me or sending me good wishes or joining support groups with me, like my mom. Thankfully, my husband did point out to me that it was not my mistake and I didn't need to apologize for it, which was helpful. My daughter came in and offered, she said, have you ever done a meditation? And I said, no, because of course I was a nurse. And while I knew what meditation was, I'd never practiced it. I didn't believe in it. I didn't know what it was. But she said, it can be a good way to calm your mind. Maybe try it. So I did. And for me, meditation was not easy. I literally went into 2 different rooms, one room inside of another room, closed both doors, turned off all the lights, put on a blindfold, and made myself sit there. Not easy to do. But while I was sitting there, I noticed that I started to feel energy in my body. And at the time, I didn't know what it was. I just knew I was having all these crazy sensations running through my body. And as I got more and more into the meditation, it was a guided meditation. The more and more I got into it, the more I was seeing things, feeling things, hearing things. I thought I was losing my freaking mind. As a matter of fact, I went to my doctor and I said, I think I'm going crazy. He said, I think you just need a vacation. But that was the start of my awakening. Things started to happen rapidly for me. The lights in my house were flickering. The electronics in my car were freaking out. My own iPhone shocked me twice in my ear. And I even went to the Apple store and was like, this phone is shocking me in my ear. And the Apple guy was very much, no, that doesn't happen. And I was like, yes, it does. I assure you it happens. Shortly after that, I was going to see my mom in Florida, and I was looking for something to listen to on the plane. I opened my phone to the podcast section, and I noticed that an entire podcast of 60 episodes of this guy named Ram Dass that I had never heard of, was suddenly downloaded on my phone. Not just saved, but downloaded to my phone. And I thought, okay, well, I'll listen to this. I get on the plane and my mind started to expand rapidly. He talked about meditation, he talked about energy, he talked about all kinds of stuff, and I voraciously consumed like 5 episodes of his podcast on the way to Florida. Just listening to those podcasts and starting to meditate changed my world, changed how I saw things, and really called into question a lot of things I thought I knew. Because remember, I was very strongly rooted in physical medicine, physical science. As a nurse and a teacher at a medical school, I was trained to be very rooted in the real world. What can you see? What can I prove? All that sort of stuff. So going through this was a huge paradigm shift for me. I had to learn to look at things very differently. This immediately sent me into a dark night of the soul. Immediately. For those of you who know what a dark night of the soul is, you know how isolating and how scary it can be, because literally everything you think you know about the world is starting to disassemble itself. You're starting to realize that there's more to the story. And for someone so rooted in the physical as me, it was very, very difficult, very disruptive. I withdrew from everything and it changed a lot in my life. But after giving myself some grace and some time and working through some things through journaling, meditation, active meditation, like going for walks, I stopped eating meat, which was a very natural thing that happened all on its own. Once I did that, my energy opened up and really started to bloom, which was both scary and exciting. Exciting because it was something new, but scary because being in the medical field, you're told that people that say stuff like this are kind of off their rocker, kind of crazy. It took time. It took a lot of time and a lot of patience, but I gave myself some grace and I let myself evolve very naturally, and it's led me where I am. Looking back, I'm very grateful for what I went through. Even though at the time it was extremely difficult, it was still what led me where I am, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't wish it on anybody else, but I also wouldn't change it for the world. So I guess I just want to say that if you feel alone, if you feel like you're going through a hard time, it's okay. You're not alone. We're all here for you. But it takes time to get through this aspect of awakening. It just does. But the more you listen to yourself and feed that intuitive side of you, the more it grows. But you have to be willing to go along with what you're receiving and stop questioning and pulling it apart. Stop it! So that was the beginning of my awakening. And that was back at COVID, so 4 years ago now. And the way my life is now compared to the way my life was then, no comparison. No. Not only am I living the life I want, but I feel satisfied. I feel good. I no longer feel like when I wake up in the morning I have 10,000 things to do and no time to do it. It just takes time. It takes time. So be patient with yourself. If you're going through your awakening, be patient with yourself. It just takes time. That's all. I promise it's going to be okay. And I also promise you're not crazy, not even a little bit. There's a whole community out here ready to support you. But truly the greatest gift you can give yourself is meditating. Meditate. Just meditate. Whatever that looks like for you. Get out of your head about the idea that the way you meditate has to look like how everybody else meditates, because it doesn't. Everything is unique to you. It's your awakening experience. Take control of it. Just saying. And just allow it to happen, friends. Just allow it to happen. Stop questioning everything. And remember that this world is about duality. In the physical world, it's about see it, then believe it. But in the metaphysical world, you have to believe it first. In order to bring something to you, you have to be a vibrational match for it. And in order to be a vibrational match for it, you have to believe it. You have to allow yourself to have the grace to know that you are evolving and changing and pulling those changes towards you. How was your experience? Was your awakening rough? I want to hear about it. Tell me about it. Right over there in the comments. Right over there. Tell me about it.